Hey, welcome back to our Community HOPEcast. We are Tree.
Annie.
Jane.
Today we're going back to one of our favorite segment, the Spill the Tea segment. And we have a pretty interesting topic today. You guys
One
ready?
that we don't
We
usually do. I feel like it's one that we have steered away from for some reason.
How come?
I don't know. Maybe it's because all of us are, or all of us are? Yeah. All of us are like in relationships, but we're not exactly open about the details or.
We're really
know.
private people, you know.
Yeah, like in that way. It feels like for
Maybe
us.
not on podcast, but we talk about it in the
Okay.
in our environment. But then I do feel like it's important. It's healthy to talk about it, and healthy being the word of today's topic. It is healthy relationship habits, and I think we picked a good combo to talk about it because you have a partner.
I do.
I'm married for almost 10 years, and Jane also have.
I'm Jane.
Sorry,
Hi, Jane.
Annie.
Hi, Jane. It's nice to meet you.
Cut. Annie, you also have a partner who is, away on duty, and he's like kind of a long distance relationship. So we kind of have different, area of the spectrum here, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe we should preface saying like how long each relationship is
Exactly.
and like what the relationship is. Like
How long is your relationship?
we
Maybe even covering like if you were friends or not. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm embarrassed now. I'm shy.
We're all going. We're all saying.
We're all the same thing.
Married man, you go first.
Oh, okay.
Been married. This August will be 9 years.
Cute.
Yeah. So known each other.
You really rounded up.
Yeah. Know each other since actually we know each other way before that, right? I was friends with her sister, and then we've been friends for probably in 20 years, and then dated for 4 years, married for 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't do the math. Don't
do
date
the
him.
math.
Don't age him.
Don't find out my age, please.
I'll let you guys know.
Let's see. I was friends with my partner for about 2 years, and then we dated for shoot. The math is not mathing. 5 years, but then a little unique that we took like a break for a time, maybe like, I mean, on paper it's like 2 or 3 years or something because of the pandemic, and then got back together since it's been 2 years. So
What's
it's
the math.
The math is just we've known each other for a while.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That's yeah.
No, I'm embarrassed. I met my partner last year in May, but we didn't start actually being like friends. Like it's just like you hang out in a group, like mutuals and everything. And we only talked for what's the math? Like 3 months, and then we started talking stage. After that, got together after just a month of talking. We just hit 8 months, and he's been gone. We've been doing long distance for 4 months, so it's been a hell of an 8 months.
So half of your relationship has been long distance.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
I went hee hee ha ha ho ho.
How is that how is that affecting the relationship? Is it helping you miss him more? Is it you wish you had more time with him?
Distance makes the heart grow fonder, as they
Distance
say.
does make the heart grow fonder, and I think it's only because of like the way we've been dating prior to
Right.
actually him leaving. He left because he has to go to IBOLIC, which is Infantry Basic Officer Leadership Course, all the way over in Georgia. So that's
Okay.
like a 3-hour time difference. So shout out to long distance couples who do like any type of like long distance, because 3 hours is like really hard
It is really
to
hard.
manage, because like
Yeah.
I have to basically plan my whole schedule around him because he's ahead of time. He went time traveling, guys.
And then because of he's in
He's in a training course.
so his time availability is not
It's not there.
Yeah.
So it has been interesting, and especially like this is my first relationship. So your girl went hee hee ha ha ho ho. Let's just jump into it.
Okay.
Down bad. Down bad. But I think like we had to be very intentional with the way we communicated like what we wanted in a relationship. And I'm very thankful that like both of us, like we are at a very similar stage in life. So we know what our values are, our goals in life are, and luckily they matched and we came from very similar backgrounds. But the transition to long distance was very hard. Like distance does make the heart grow fonder, but it also makes it more prone for issues too.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Will you be able to see him anytime soon?
Hopefully so. He's gonna come back. He also does get leave, so he can come back sometimes. I'm hoping throughout, whenever he's still there, I can use my PTO and go visit him too. So,
Cool.
well, it's a work in progress. I feel like all relationships are work in progress.
All relationships, all people.
All people.
Thanks for opening up. I mean, that's the whole point of having this podcast, right? Just
Don't
to share.
date military boys.
Wait a second.
Or people. Don't do it. Whoever does it, shout out to you. It's hard. That's my one take.
No,
All right,
that's
you
good.
guys can talk for the rest of the podcast now.
No, you don't get away that easy.
What the hell?
Before we ask, to get deep into the healthy relationship habit, I have a kind of a warm-up question for both
Okay.
of you. Is there such a thing as a perfect partner?
No.
No, probably, definitely not.
Good.
No, people are not perfect in and of themselves, unless you're like a fictional character.
Yeah.
Gojo.
Wait a second.
If you know, you know. Nanami. If you know, you know.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. Before maybe when you're young, especially like my wife, she always, I want the perfect man, that K-drama man, right? And then afterwards, you kind of realize that not everybody's perfect. And I read a quote somewhere that really relate to this topic. When two people are in a relationship, it's not you bring 50% of yourself and the other bring 50%. It's both of you both need to bring 100% of yourselves and kind of make sure that you are the best version of yourself and that the other person is the best version of themselves. That's the only way that the relationship will work. What do you guys think about that?
Interesting take. I mean, I've seen a lot of that floating around online, right? This whole like percentage thing,
Yeah.
trying to summarize what a good relationship would be. That is definitely one take, 100%. And one that I've also seen kind of popular is that together you're 100% because some days, you can't give your all. Some
That's a great
days you're
take.
20%, some days the other person is 80%.
Yep.
Some days you're 50-50.
Yep.
I think if we had to do a short little snippet that summarizes what a relationship is, I kind of like that one better.
Yeah.
Because like not every day you're doing your best, right?
Yep.
And I think that for me, a romantic relationship is, I mean, it really is whatever each individual wants it to be. But at least for me personally, it's definitely having someone who has similar values or can share with you like your personal experiences in life and go throughout that journey together, be supportive of each other in your endeavors, that kind of thing.
Speaking of personal values, do you seek that out in the beginning of a relationship, or before when you start dating, there's the physical aspect of it, right, and then the fun, but then do you somewhere in the first 3 months, 6 months, you talk about personal values, future, so that you don't.
I mean, when we talked about just the short summary of our relationship right now, Annie kind of summarized it, right? Because, Annie, you are at an age where you would have explicitly talked about it from the get-go, right?
I think I always talk about my values from my get-go because like I feel like with a relationship, it's a commitment. It should be a commitment, right?
It should be.
If that's what you want it
It's
to
my
be.
first relationship.
If that's what you want it to be.
So I think like for me, like I think I was at an age where like even now, like right now, I'm at a stage in life where I can easily transition, but I'm still trying to figure out myself. So I wanted to really be like transparency for me is key. So I wanted to be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for in a relationship. This is what I value the most. These are my non-negotiables. Because I refuse. I mean, they're called non-negotiables for a reason. Like I'm not going to refuse like that. These are non-negotiables. Like that makes me believe me, and how it frames how I live my life, right? Which doesn't mean like I'm not open to like hearing other perspectives, but like
Right.
that's just me.
That's good.
I think when we met, like my partner and I, we were still rather young. So it was definitely more developed in such a way it was like friends to more romantic.
Okay.
So I did not open the relationship with like, hey, these are our explicit values and ideals and everything.
Right.
It was definitely more of a natural or like implied through interactions,
Right.
like what our values and beliefs are. Later on, when we were older, of course, we talked more explicitly about the future and everything and what we wanted out of it. But yeah, that's kind of. I think definitely once you're at a certain age, that's when it becomes more important
Right.
to explicitly state these
Right.
things.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So it's more like organic. You guys were just being friends
Yeah,
and then seeing what each other's values are,
Yeah.
and then okay, that you guys decided you guys moved on to a more romantic side. That's great.
What about you?
What was the question?
Like when did you discuss values
Yeah.
in your relationship?
I think leaning towards Jane's situation. We kind of been friends, we're like friends with her family 1st and seeing how, like, the parents she raised. She had 5 sisters, so see how the parents raised their girls and the value. I just resonate with me. It's the way that we were born. We were born and raised Catholic, both of us, and then we saw that how we talked about being in the relationship, right? And we talked about being married. We talked very early in because I guess at the time I've been through a few failed relationships, so I kind of
Okay.
learned from the relation, like
Sure, yeah, yeah. Good.
what's work and what won't work. So at that time, like I'm very confident that I can be successful in a new relationship. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also wonder if it's like, nowadays with social media and everything, we hear or absorb a lot of like relationship advice or, there's the changes in attitudes about like what we can talk about now. And I guess I wonder if that influenced us differently from you because back in the day,
Back in the days before Google,
yeah, like how open was it during your generation to talk about these kinds of things with each other in like a relationship, like were you taught it or just kind of
I think through observing. They're observing. Definitely, there were some ill advice from people, right? This is something I've learned a lot. I've heard a lot from my, especially the people that older than me who got married. They're like, "Oh, you're just in the honeymoon stage, right? Wait until you hit blah 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 age. You see what I mean." So then, like, for the first few years, is that sound? For the first few years, I was like, "Oh man, is that guy right? Like, is that coming? Like, is that coming? Like, would there be a time where my wife will be like hard to deal with, But then like, surprisingly, that never come. Like, so like that expectation from the ill advice, like kind of sometimes influence you. So, but then for me, to answer your question, that's just like me observing, right? Now, with technology, with Instagram, stuff like that, my wife and I still send each other like relationship advice or parenting advice all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, especially when there are times where, let's say we have a disagreement. This is what my wife's very good at. We have a disagreement. For example, like let's say I yell at my kid for some reason, right? And then the next morning I'll see like a parenting tip advice on Instagram. Hey, da 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 da. And I think that's a good habit to have because she didn't attack me or she didn't kind of correct me at that time where my kind of there's
Okay.
anger, there's a certain level of anger. She waited until I cool off, and then she kind of, hey, this is how I felt like you could have done better in relationship or in parenting advice. So I think that's a good habit that I have. Yeah.
Interesting method of confrontation.
Yeah. No, I think that's one of the things that I think is very important. After I learned from my other relationship, like I told you,
Okay.
I think allowing the person time to cool off is very important. I think we talked about it last time. But what's your take on that? Like, if you have
Cooling off after an argument,
cooling off after
or
an
what
argument,
do you
or
just
a
generally do
disagreement.
after an argument?
So luckily, so far, we actually had never had any disagreements. Only because, like, I think we preface more of the relationship in being like making it a safe space, and like we're very open to any like constructive criticism.
That's great.
Like there are times like I do get angry at him, and he does get like he gets annoyed at me, but then we're always like, hey, do you have a minute? Like once you feel like, for us, like once we feel like that weird small emotion, we refuse to let it grow, and we're like, hey, do you have space for, or you have capacity for a conversation? We always preface that at first, right? Because sometimes
That's
like
cool.
people don't have the capacity. I'm like, okay. Usually like and then when we wait for that, like, that time for that conversation, we're like, hey, I've been feeling like this has been happening, and like this has been making me feel some type of way, and like we have learned to like put like words into like explaining like why we feel that way, to like very like rationalize it out, and so we make it an open space, and like just in case, like, oh, for example, like one of the issues like we've had long distance, that like I feel like sometimes we're on call, but we're not very present with each other, right? And it's like, I don't even get to see you in the first place anyway. Like I would like want to have like quality time and making sure like you're there. And I'm not expecting you to be like always 100% there, right? But I just like would like some sort of attention, like some sort of like just like intention to be present with me. And so I'm like, hey, I've been feeling very lonely, and it's because I feel like I have been neglected, because I feel like the relationship hasn't been fulfilling on my side, because I'm over here, I'm waiting for you, and that I would love it if I could get some of your time or like some of your attention when we're on call together, right? And so like, we work together to find a solution, and we're like, hey, we'll wait until we're at a good capacity that we can manage in terms of like actually interacting with each other. And then like we always communicate what we need to do, what our capacity is, and like, if we want to do something, we plan it out together. So, yeah.
That's great. That's great communication. Don't you agree, Jane? Like you communicate when you felt that little weird emotion. Like, hey, I like the question you asked. What was it like?
What's your capacity?
What is your
like?
capacity?
Yeah.
You have capacity to have a conversation. That's polite, right? And that's also allow the other person to make the decision instead of say, hey, we need to talk now.
Yeah.
That to me is like, ugh.
Less confrontational.
That's confrontational.
Exactly.
I mean, because we're both anxious as hell. So like, like I have really bad anxiety. So I'm like, oh, like if he ever was like we need to talk, and I'm like, oh, like he's gonna break up with me. I'm like, oh my god. But definitely like
That's great.
we definitely like set up a lot of rules because we knew it would definitely be harder when he was gone, and when. Like I can't talk. I basically talk to him only on weekends.
Yeah.
Because the man is in the fields. Like right now, he's in a building, basically doing Counter-Strike in real life.
Okay. Not digging holes anymore.
Not digging holes. Last week was digging holes. No, was that 2 weeks ago? He was digging holes. The other couple weeks he was in the forest. Yeah. So there's no signal out there in the forests of Georgia.
How did you find, ways to make it consistent, or are you able to make it at least consistent with what you talked about, like having time for each other, and is that a challenge for you both to keep that
As in consistent rules or
Like-
a
consistency of making it happen, like
Making what happen?
Like a
since you
schedule
talked
to
about
talk?
yes, like a schedule to talk, and every time you talk, has it been has your partner able to like, hey, give it more, I like you said, spending more time on the phone, be 100% present. Has that been consistent, or has it been like falling off the wagon? How has it been?
Oh, I guess it's like
Yeah.
you can talk about improvements you need to make,
Yeah.
but sometimes
Oh.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, can you keep that up? Right.
I don't expect us to, whenever we have something and we communicate with each other, I don't expect us to improve immediately.
Okay.
Because you can't improve immediately. You try your
Absolutely.
best,
Yeah.
right? And like like, okay, so earlier in like when we were talking, like Jane said, like, oh, like we think of it like very similar to her, like we think of the relationship as 100%, right? Some days you can't give your full 50-50. Like I take the same way, like everything that I do or whatever I act, I'm like, it's a two-way street, right? Like you're gonna have to put some effort. Sometimes my car is not gonna be all the way in the middle of the street.
Right.
His car isn't, and then we make sure. The issue is like we have to make sure that we communicate that capacity, right? So that we know like why aren't we maintaining consistency, right? Luckily, because of his schedule, and that like he communicates to me like, hey, this is what's on the schedule. Like this time I'm doing team platoon operations. This time I'm doing defensive ops.
Yeah.
This time I'm doing urban ops, right? And so I know the schedule. I know when he comes back from the fields. I know what days he's home. I have his location too. So like literally like man's in like for
Shared Google Calendar?
we don't do a shared Google Calendar because we don't use Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at Google Calendar, I think of work. So
Yeah,
then
you have so
I
much
get
work.
scared. But then lately, like we're always trying to improve. But I think it's the fact that we said that there is no firm or like really hard expectations to improve and to maintain consistency. Okay. But lately, as of like yet, like we're pretty good on it. Like, and like, you know, making sure that we're spending enough time with each other, making sure that we know each other's capacity. We try to text every day if we can. If he doesn't have any signal, then like I'm still texting him and he can text me whenever I come back. I think it's just like whenever you have a relationship, like especially like long distance, you're making sure you're communicating well about your expectations and prefacing your non-negotiables. Like, this is what I cannot do. Right?
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jane,
What's up?
have you and your partner developed any healthy relationship habits throughout the years?
Healthy relationship habits throughout the years. I would say there are certain things that we do. I guess some of it isn't really explicit. Like, for example, one of the things that we like, love languages is one thing that, some of us might be familiar with, right? And one of our love languages is, like quality time. Okay. Quality time is pretty high up there. So, integrating spending time together in person, whether it be, going out to do an activity together or just being present with each other, like in our own space, we try to integrate that in a regular schedule. I think at this point in my life too, just having stability in a regular schedule that includes things like, time with my partner is very good for my well-being. So
that's great. So quality time is one of
and it's like a variety of things. It's like, for example, we both have annual passes to Disney. So we go there like
that.
half day, bye.
Yep.
You know where to find me. Don't call. So for example, doing something like that, like going out for like half day at Disney, or in the evenings calling and watching a show together or something, because that kind of spills into another like love language that we have, which is kind of like intellectual, which is sharing something and being able to like discuss, be critical, and have conversation. That's not related to us, but like critical analysis of shows or things that we watch. That, or even just mundane stuff, like running errands together. And you go to the bank, put on the schedule, things like that.
Awesome. I noticed something great about you and your partner as well. And every time that we have like a technical issue, you always consult with him because, that's his expertise. And I thought that's very good because, you're not like, oh, I know everything already. And you always want to consult with him, even though like a smallest thing, right? Because you value his knowledge and his input. And I noticed that, and kudos to that.
I think it's something that we've been doing since early on when we met, especially when we were in school. Things like team projects, we kind of split the work into like our expertise.
Okay.
And that's spilled into other aspects of our relationship. Like if I need IT help, I know who to call.
Okay.
And if he needs like other things, like, because my expertise is in things like photography, more artistic skills, or general life skills. I've talked about this in the office, but sometimes he lacks a few life skills, and I don't know. Sometimes, yeah, it's a lot to unpack right now. But some general life skills, I worry about him sometimes when he's out there on his own.
That's why they have you. That's why they have you. So you guys are made perfect, right?
No, you should
What?
be your own individual. You
No,
should
that-
have these life skills.
There's something that remember we talked about in the beginning, Annie. She can bring 20% or 80% to fill his gap when he needs to.
Are you living okay?
Within between all three of us, I noticed that, you know, we can. It's safe to say that we can spend the whole day with our partner, and we never run out of things to talk about, because you mentioned there's intellectual things that you always want to discuss. And I also noticed that you and your partner have a lot of things in common. You guys play games, listen to the same type of music.
Yeah.
Is there any time when oh man, I don't want, I have enough of you, I don't want to talk to you? Is there any time that you run into that situation?
Alone time.
Alone time?
Yeah.
It was so funny. Like recently, like I actually did need alone time because I just did not have the capacity. And then like he does have ADHD, so he went into one of his ADHD like hyper focusing things, and he just kept talking. And then I was having like the worst physical day because I was sick. I was going through it. I was taking medicine. The medicine was hitting me, and so I was like, we were on call, and then my brain could not function, so I was giving him like short answers. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. Okay, yeah. And he's like, hey, is everything okay? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna be honest, like I need alone time because like I don't have the capacity, and I realize I don't have it now.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, like he just let me have my own time. And I told him whenever I was because like he does get worried about me a lot. So I was like, hey, I'm feeling better now, but I do want my alone time. So like we always try to gauge our capacities, because like in person it's easy to do it, but then when you're on FaceTime and your face is like this, because I don't like the bottom half of my face.
Yeah.
Just your eyes.
You can't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just I don't know.
I think
Surgery?
my alone time is kind of baked into my everyday schedule already, for the most part.
From 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, like this is my gym time here. This is my alone time so I can read and do my own hobbies. And then this is the time where we can like regroup and call, like that. Okay, but you are married and you have kids. Do you have like alone time in your schedule, or like what's up with that?
Do you even have time with your wife with the kids?
Good question. I actually don't have a lot of time with my wife as I used to, but definitely times. So you kind of value each moment you have, right? Like last time when we got out of work early, we went to see a movie after like, oh my gosh, how long? Like 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Years.
Yeah, 4 years. Well, we had like 2.5 years of COVID too.
Oh,
that
damn,
kind of
yeah.
But then we did have kids right after. 2 kids out during COVID, so definitely didn't have a lot of time to spend a lot. But then it makes it so much valuable now just to have like an hour or two, whether it's dinner, whether it's just going out to eat. But like both of you, we always have something to talk about, and I love spending time with her. I think that's a prerequisite of a good relationship, because if you in the beginning, if you have a relationship where there are times like, oh, I can't stand that person, I can't stand to go home, when wait to go home, then that might not be that might be a red flag or an orange flag in that case. One question for you, Jane. Let's start with you
Sure.
first. Should there be a point of complacency in a relationship?
A point of complacency. Would you like to elaborate the question a little bit further, if anything?
Like, is there a point of a relationship where like, all right, that's enough. I think we both try hard enough right now just to relax and just to be us, or you guys always have to make effort to be a better version of yourself every day?
A point complacency, kind of like the idea of like getting stagnant, like whether or not it's acceptable.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely how you value or how you want your relationship to work for you, because this kind of relates to other things where people are always talking about like, you always want to strive for change, strive for, achieving new goals in whatever it is you do. And I think that's great and all. But my take is that there's something very nice about stability, just being stable and having, your life go smoothly in a routine way. And so when you say complacency, I think that comes with a lot of maybe a certain sense of like apathy or other negative emotions, right? Maybe at that point, that's when you should be concerned about it. But for example, if you just feel a sense of stability and you're like content and happy with, the way that your everyday goes at that point, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Sure.
And I'm sure that there can be other maybe more long-term goals that are, in the future, but there's nothing wrong with, a more stable period of time.
Right.
You're not always on the up and up.
Sure. What about you, Annie?
Dude, she said everything out of my mouth, man. Like, what
That's
am I supposed to
awesome.
say? But I feel like, yeah, like, just to, like, piggyback off Jane. Oh, my God. It's like a real discussion. Let me piggyback off Jane. I just want
Ooh.
to echo what you said. I think they're, like, when you talk about complacency, there's a lot of layers. It's like, what are you being complacent in, right? But I think, like, similar to Jane, like, I feel if you're going to be complacent, communicate that so that, like, no one's expectations out of, like, whack, right? Like you guys aren't like you guys are on the same wavelength. Because like what if one person's like, hey, like I'm tired, like I can't put my full capacity, like for like a couple months I just want to like I just want to do basic things, right? And another person's like, whoa, let's go do this, let's go travel the world, let's keep spending like so much time, let's do so many activities, but then the person just wants to stay at home, like right? I feel like you have to definitely just like communicate that so like you guys can understand each other more and understand what you want out of the relationship. But then I feel like you shouldn't be too complacent for so long, because then like you get too comfortable. Like there's an extent to where stability just changes to like
that's when kind of like
what I mean?
the apathy and
yeah
that kind of thing seeps into your
and then
relationship,
so like
right?
that's why you should just be like, I think like it's just like constant communication, like what are your goals, like that's why I always preface with the values, like what do you want. For me, I just want to be dinks, like dual income, no kids. No kids. And so like like just communicate that, but then I feel like just don't get it to the point where like apathy happens and you don't really care and you're like tired of everything, so that you don't seem it's a chore. A relationship should be work, but it shouldn't feel like a chore. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And just aim for that long-term goal, whatever you guys have. I don't know, you do you. I'm tired.
I agree with you on that. For being married, I think complacency is not even allowed, because
That's dangerous,
because
you never know when the divorce papers land on the table, like
absolutely.
Yo, queen of tears, boom.
Absolutely. And then because like each I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so like when they grow, like at each stage of their life there's another level of challenges, like for my wife and I, right? So complacency is probably not even close or in the near future. And I totally think that with children it's different. And I know you guys clearly communicate, and children totally respect that, because definitely you have you want to spend time with your partner and do things, different goals in life, right? So for me, complacency is not even like in the near future at all, because
You're too busy.
I told that, and then
I mean, also because you guys are role modeling what a good relationship is, hopefully,
for your
your
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
But constantly having to be aware, though, like it can easily, and my wife and I talk about that, when you have kids, it's easily, we can easily like drift apart. Right, because you spend so much time with the kids, and then you only have 24 hours a day. All of us have 24 hours a day, and between work, between the kids, between her business, we barely have any time together. By 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, putting the kids to sleep, you're dead tired, right? But then communication. So I think that's the theme for what we talked today: communicating ahead of time, and spending time talking about the intellectual stuff. And we have to make that conscious effort to do that, instead of like every time we get together, even when we're alone, we have to talk about our kids. We have to make a conscious effort. Hey, let's talk about your business. Let's talk about the business plan. Like, what do you want to do? Things like that. How's your real estate business?
How are you really?
How are you really? Exactly. And I think being, non-complacent and being aware of how the other person is feeling through communicating and through just observing. And I think that's something that I would say a good relationship habit to develop. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
I think that's interesting conversation today. I definitely learned a lot from the youngest relationship in here. Is communicating, right? And that's the basic. Yeah, I think that's the basic. But what is that again? Can you repeat that for us and for our listener? The beginning. Do you have the?
Oh, what is your capacity like? Do you have capacity for a conversation? Yeah, it's like, hey,
But I mean, when you say like conversation stuff, can be a difficult thing to learn.
Yeah.
Because baked into that as well is, you can learn to say these things, but also the fact that can you be open? Can you actively listen to the other person as well?
Yeah.
That's like the next layer as well,
I think that's the. Thank you for mentioning that. The putting our ego aside to say, hey, sure, let's have a conversation, right? But I think with that question, being a man, right? If I'm being asked that question, it feels like, hey, you the person respect you enough to ask you if you have enough capacity, or even me talking to my wife, hey, I respect you to ask you for your time, for your space, for me to, make sure it's safe to just talk about that. And I think that it works. I'm going to use it on my kids too when they get older. Hey, do you have a capacity for daddy to talk about, this certain relationship stuff?
Yeah. How your brains wrinkling? They're wrinkling. Can I wrinkle your brains more?
Please do.
What?
I think, do you have any final remarks for?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. I hate happy couples. Actually, I just kidding. I do.
You are a happy couple. What are you talking about?
I hate happy couples when I'm not happy. But no, I was kidding. I like it. One of the things is that when you have a relationship, how did you court, or how did your significant other court you? I like talking about this. Like what moves did you put on your wife?
And that's all the time we have today, folks. Just kidding. All right.
Okay, but that means you have to share too.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry.
Okay.
Who do you ask first?
Let's ask you.
Okay. Man, how did I court my wife?
With original ideas, or
no, actually, it was just a
like, what's your favorite moment? Because there's probably many moments.
travel. So luckily, when I courted my wife, we were going to France, England, and Spain.
He said international, baby.
Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide. Because we had, we in 2011, we went to what is it called? The World Youth Day, when we get to see the Pope throughout the world. Everyone throughout the world going to Spain to see the Pope. And at that time, I just got out of, both of us got out of our previous relationship. And so we traveled together, 13, 14 of us. And, we get to travel and in France, in France. We woke up early to go have a romantic French coffee date. And
I was thinking stroll by the river, not like
no
coffee at the cafe with all the European smokers and
no
people
there was
watching.
no smoke. We're eating the croissant.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
Croissant.
And then with the coffee, and I remember I had to learn some. So cheesy, gosh! I had to learn some cute French words. Yeah, exactly. See, you
Cringe.
Ah!
Yep. So that's how we.
Do you remember what you said to her?
No, we don't want to hear it.
You
Not
don't
in
want
our
to hear
ears.
it. I can't pronounce it.
Oui, baguette. Bonjour. What about you?
And that's how.
like that.
Wait, you asked her out in France?
No,
Oh.
we just kind of court each other. I didn't ask her. I
okay.
was 6 months later.
Oh, okay. I bullied him.
That sounds about right.
As little kids do. as kids do, I guess. But I guess no, yeah, we just hang out as friends. Man, modern day relationships Dude, I bullied him. He sent me memes.
Memes.
He sent me memes. That's how we.
Broke a barrier. Now they're together.
I mean, I guess the difficult thing is finding similar taste in humor and stuff, I guess. If you're talking about maybe like the moments, perhaps. The first time around, I was the one who asked him. And I drew upon things like some of like his interests and stuff. So for example, he did a little bit of origami back then. So my little gift in addition to asking him out, because ladies, you can ask people out too, you know, don't be shy, was like a jar of like origami stars, and each single strip of origami star I had written something on it about like maybe something I liked about him or a memory that we had. Aww. I mean, he'll never be able to read it, but it's like, you know, it's the thought, the wish. Yeah. And the second time around, I was like, I'm not doing this again. It's your turn to ask me out. And I'm never going to let him live this down, but he asked me out in the Japanese friendship garden. I had to take 5 minutes on the bench, sit down. I'm like, now?
In
the friendship garden?
So what are we?
I mean, hey, find you a partner that's like your lifelong friend. But anyway, that's just too... It's very him.
Origami stars. I remember those.
Yeah,
that's cute. I hate happy couples.
What about you, Annie?
You guys are gonna hate me.
So did you soft launch? Hard launch?
That's a long story. Basically, we made a joke because our inheritance is a house each. Sorry. You guys can't have mine.
I love a practical relationship too.
So he made
to the point.
He made a joke that like, because he is Army, so he does get the GI Bill for college, and I want a master's. I love higher education. I just like learning, right? Okay. And so he's like, who wants a free master's? And I was like, did someone say free master's? And so I was like, down. And he's like, and so we started talking about like finances, and because we have very, very similar backgrounds, we were like, I don't know how the conversation started, but he's like, oh my God, yeah, like I get a house, so you can get a house too. And I was like, wait, no, wait, I get a house. So we were like, so I thought it was just like friendly banter, like business partner type of thing. Because like, you know, friends can be business partners if you have the right contract and legal preferences beforehand. And then he was like, wait, is she serious? Does she really want to do this? And I was like, ha ha, hee hee, ho ho, like business partners. Because like if you live together in one house, then you can rent the other house. And these houses are paid. So I was like, passive income, and then you split it.
Lucrative in Orange County, California.
That's what I was thinking. He was thinking, does she really want this? And then so like a couple of times as we're hanging out with the group, we continuously joke about this. And then he makes the first move, but I didn't think it was a first move because his man was like, God, what did he say again? He was like, I forgot what the phrase is. I'll like look back through our chat and I'll like tell you guys later, but you guys will find out. LOL. But then, so whenever I have another friend come back from the military, because he is another Army boy, my little baby friend, we always go to Jollibee. Like that has been a tradition. And then this time I drove my friend that was soon to be partner to Jollibee. And like at the time, like we're very similar people. So like we like paying for other people and like we tend to be the planners. And so he was like, hey, do you want ketchup? And I was like, yeah. So his head went auto speed and he tore up a ketchup packet and put it on my plate. No one would do that. Like, why would you do that, right? And then he was like, oh, snap. I made a move. So he did it to another friend. Hey, you want ketchup? So he put it on our friend's plate.
Too late.
But then, like, things happened and he tried to make moves on me, but I didn't think it was a move because, like, he tried to put his jacket on me because I was cold. And I was like, thanks, you're just a great friend. Thanks for doing.
You almost friend zoned him.
I did multiple times. Okay. I was like, oh my God, like, he's so nice. So I didn't know him like that too much until we started talking after. And then he gave me the remote to his gate. And he's like, I'm like, oh, is this mine or do you want me to give it back to you? He's like, yeah, it's yours. It's for our house. And I was like,
Whoa.
our house. What are you talking about? I'm just driving you because your car,
Yeah.
you got into a car accident. So I'm driving you back home because we're like neighbors basically. And he's like, do you have a capacity for a conversation? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. So you see where this capacity thing came, right?
Okay.
And then he's like, hey, I really like you. And you know, I would love to spend more time to get to know you. And my first reaction was, oh. I went, oh, and then I gave him more anxiety.
Did your anxiety kick in?
My anxiety kicked in, so I went, oh, like the cat, oh. And then he was like, oh, so I was like, yeah, can I get back to you about that? Like a meeting? Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
Yeah.
And then we went on like 2 dates, and then I hard launched it on Be Real.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, these traditional courting methods go right over the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, his was kind of nice, and we were like, ha 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 ha. Oopsies.
That was very good. That was good. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Which would have been your ideal method?
So which is funny because I was the one that decided to hard launch it on Be Real because Be
Yeah.
Real went off while we were on a date, and I was like, you know what? Let's go. So he actually did have a plan to ask me out to be his girlfriend. But then I was like, I guess we're cool enough, right?
Yeah.
I just took my phone and I was like, and then I just put hard launch. So he had a plan.
Did he share what that plan was?
Yeah, he was gonna take me out to a very nice like date walk by the beach or something, and then he would ask me out there. But then I did it in the car during Be Real after we went to a flea market in LA.
I love modern day romance.
And
There you
then
go. I like that.
and then because so many people from our friend group were getting proposed, I was like, hey, what if I do the same thing to you for our proposal, and you never get a chance in this relationship?
Give the boy a
Yeah.
chance.
Give him some.
Give him a
time.
chance.
But
Some
funny.
hints.
Funny, haha.
But funny, ha ha ha.
But take
Funny.
turns.
There was no turn.
Take turns.
Launch it. Anyways,
We had such a great conversation today, and get to know you guys better, get to know your partners, and modern day romance is real. Okay, anxiety don't have to kick in right now. Anything else you guys want to share before we end the segment and call it an episode?
No, we're good.
we're
good.
good. I shared too much.
Yeah, it's time to plug our socials. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Give Us Hope OC, and you can find our podcast on YouTube here or Spotify. There, if you're listening.
Like, comment, subscribe, interact with our post, and
Share so that everyone can hear our embarrassing stories, I suppose.
yeah, I
Yep.
guess if you're listening, no, you didn't.
And if you want, put in a comment section of your brief moment of how you were courted. We want to know.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I hate
That'd
happy
be
couples.
kind of embarrassing. I don't know.
Or maybe just like, comment, subscribe,
Yeah.
follow us, like, Give Us Hope OC. Bye,
All right,
guys.
bye.
Thanks.